My name is Nikola Novakovic, and welcome to my presentation, The Picturebook as Multimodal Text in Pre-Service Teacher Training. As you can see from the next slide, I work at the Faculty of Teacher Education of the University of Zagreb, Croatia. This faculty, as you can see from the next slide, offers a 5-year integrated undergraduate and graduate university program in primary education worth 300 ECTS points, leading to the qualification of University Master of Primary Education. The program prepares students for teaching at the primary level, grades 1 to 4, and includes specialized tracks and modules, among them English and German language tracks, that additionally qualify students to teach the selected foreign language in primary and lower secondary education, meaning grades 1 to 8. The curriculum combines pedagogical, psychological, didactic education, subject-specific content, methodological training, and track or module-specific coursework. The aim of the curriculum is to develop broad professional, methodological, and subject-related competences required for contemporary primary education. Now, within the English language track, the mandatory 4th-year course, Picturebooks in English, which is worth 2 ECTS points, is part of the subject-specific and methodological training of future teachers of English. The course consists of 15 hours of lectures and 15 hours of seminars and is typically attended by approximately 50 students per academic year. The final grade is formed on the basis of attendance and participation, continual assessment tests, 5 project assignments, and 1 written essay, as well as the final oral exam. Its placement in the 4th year reflects the student's prior acquisition of linguistic, literary, and methodological foundations, which allows for a more advanced engagement with Picturebooks as multimodal texts and pedagogical resources. The inclusion of this course reflects the central role played by Picturebooks in early language learning and literacy development, and the need for future teachers to develop analytical and practical competences for the informed use of Picturebooks in the English language classroom. Now, when it comes to the theoretical background, the special study program for primary English teachers outlined above was developed from the work of Mirjana Vilke, and the course on Picturebooks was developed and taught by Smiljana Narančić-Kovač, whose picture you can see here. First through a series of elective courses and then as a mandatory course from the academic year 2008-2009. During her work on the course, which lasted until her retirement in 2023, Smiljana Narančić-Kovač developed her own approach to some of the central issues in picturebook theory, culminating in 2016 with the publication of her book Jedna priča, dva pripovjedača, slikovnica kao pripovjed, or in English, One Story, Two Narrators, the picturebook as a narrative. Focusing on the narrative picturebook, Narančić-Kovač shows how its story is conveyed by 2 distinct narrators, the verbal and the visual. By challenging the hypothesis that there is only one verbal narrator in the narrative picturebook, the study aims to fill the gap in picturebook theory formed by neglecting the notion of 2 narrative voices. And here I quote from Narančić-Kovač. In particular, the study describes the narrative potential and medium-specific tools of 2 parallel discourses, words and pictures, and the relationship of their narrators and its effects, identifies narrative perspectives in contemporary picturebooks, and describes devices and strategies adopted by picturebook narrators to convey specific points of view. It considers the implications of the results for the picturebook-specific model of narrative transmission. The Narančić-Kovač's model of the narrative picturebook is based on Seymour-Chapman's scheme of narrative structure and Gérard Genet's discussions of the characteristics of narrative discourse. The theoretical toolset for distinguishing between the 2 narrative voices and identifying their complex and often ironic relationship forms the basis for the methodology of analyzing picturebooks as multimodal texts, which is taught to students over several introductory lectures. The aims of the course are multiple. Firstly, it strives to familiarize students with the theoretical aspects of understanding the picturebook as a genre, especially with regard to the complex interrelationships between its verbal and visual components and the issue of readership. Secondly, it teaches English terminology related to the analytical description of picture books. Thirdly, it presents the development and diversity of picture books in the English-speaking world, with an emphasis on the contemporary picture book. In particular connection with this, the course demonstrates the semantic complexity, intertextuality, and metafictionality of the contemporary picture book. Lastly, the course encourages students to reflect on and discuss the basic criteria for the evaluation of picture books, especially with regard to their potential application in teaching and learning English as a foreign language. After successfully completing the course, the students are able to explain the issues involved in the theoretical definition of the picture book, the complex interrelationship between its verbal and visual components, and other constitutive features of the picture book as a multimodal art form, including its specific readership. Critically describe the diversity of picture books in the English-speaking world, with an emphasis on the narrative picture book, and distinguish between and compare different types of picture books and their characteristics. Critically apply scholarly knowledge in the analysis of individual picture books, creatively apply relevant concepts and theoretically described narrative strategies of visual and verbal expression in picture books, and report on the results of the conducted analysis. Assess which print and electronic sources are relevant for the purpose of collecting data and acquiring new knowledge about picture books in the English-speaking world, and creatively use relevant facts, concepts, and procedures in solving complex tasks. Design and conduct research into the structural components of the contemporary picture book, and report on the results of the conducted research in the form of an academic paper. Demonstrate acquired knowledge and creative analytical skills for the purpose of evaluating individual picture books, and assess the potential of picture books for use in English language teaching based on insights into the specific role of the reader. Now, when it comes to the student research and project assignments, while part of the course consists of lectures, this section serves to enable students to conduct independent research and produce both orally presented and written work during the semester. At the beginning of the course, each student selects one picture book from the list of 25 seminal works from the 20th and 21st centuries. This list contains titles such as Maurice Sendak's Outside Over There, Satoshi Kitamura's Lily Takes a Walk, Anthony Brown's Voices in the Park, David Wiesner's The Three Pigs, David Macaulay's Black and White, David McKee's Charlotte's Piggy Bank, and Margaret Wilde and Anne Spadvilla's Wolves in the City. In preparation for their oral presentation on the selected picture book, each student writes a series of 5 guided project assignments designed to help them analyze the picture book's paratexts. Secondly, verbal and visual discourses, word-picture relationship, intertextuality and metatextuality, as well as other postmodern elements, and the relationship between the picture book and other genres and types of media. Each student is also assigned one or more scholarly papers, either specifically about their selected picture book or closely relevant to it, which provides the student with existing interpretations of the picture book. Using the insights from their written project assignments and notes from secondary literature, each student prepares a 15-minute talk for their seminar group, accompanied by a PowerPoint presentation consisting only of photographed or scanned pages of their selected picture book. The student then presents the results of their research on the picture book and guides the audience through the contents of the picture book, including its paratextual elements. In their talk, students are expected to focus on the verbal-visual interdependence, clearly refer to their secondary reading, especially from the individually assigned paper, and rely on picture book theory and course content in general to show that they have obtained new knowledge and that they know how to apply it in their analysis. Students are also encouraged to comment on their personal experience of reading the picture book and to make a recommendation for a specific audience. Afterwards, students produce one final piece of work, a separate written essay on a different picture book of their own choice, in which they apply all of the theoretical concepts learned and practiced during the semester. Their main task is to focus on the most prominent aspects of the picture book in reference to course contents, design, word-picture relationship, reading and readership, story world, intertextuality, metafictive devices, interactivity, etc., in order to discuss some of the following issues. How the texts, both verbal and visual, lead the reader through the picture book, how freely the reader chooses their reading trajectory, whether or not it is obviously intended for a dual audience of adults and children, whether the story differs when read by children versus when it is read by adults, and any other specific or particularly interesting aspects of the picture book that the student wishes to draw attention to. The course Picturebooks in English is a firmly integrated part of the English language track within the teacher education program at the Faculty of Teacher Education of the University of Zagreb. As shown in this paper, the course treats Picturebooks not only as classroom resources, but as complex texts in which meaning is created through the interaction of words, images, design, and the reader. The theoretical approach developed in Croatian picture book studies, especially the concept of dual narration proposed by Nanacic Kovac, provides students with a clear framework for recognizing how verbal and visual elements contribute differently to storytelling in picture books. The combination of lectures and seminar-based student work allows future teachers to gradually build analytical skills through practice. By working on guided project assignments, oral presentations, and independent written analysis, students learn to pay attention to issues such as intended readership, the relationship between words and images, narrative perspective, intertextual references, metafictional elements, and reader involvement. This helps them move beyond an intuitive use of picture books and towards a more reflective and informed approach, which they can later apply in their own teaching practice. Overall, the course supports students in developing both an understanding of picture books as multimodal literary and artistic forms and the ability to use them thoughtfully in English language teaching. In this way, it contributes to preparing future teachers to select, analyze, and apply picture books in ways that are sensitive to both their aesthetic complexity and their pedagogical potential. Thank you very much for your attention.